Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Garcia. I am Vice Chair of the Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce. I'm on the board. I'm the Vice Chair of Government and Legislative Affairs and a partner and shareholder at Kozak, Tropin, and Throckmorton in Coral Gables. Welcome to everybody tonight. We're so happy to have you here. First, welcome to our city's biennial candidates forum presented by our Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce. Tonight, our program is brought to you live and in person, the only one of its kind planned for this election season and a long-standing chamber tradition. So we're very happy to be here tonight. We believe strongly this format protects the integrity of the program and allows candidates to interact authentically in the same space, live and in person. It is our honor to once again present tonight's forum in partnership with several community organizations and in concert with our hosts, the University of Miami. So thank you to them for their support always. While these events take a tremendous amount of time and planning, hello baby, we believe it is in the best interest of our CityBeautiful to do the heavy lifting as your top tier ranked Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for your faith in us. And thank you to our members of the for their amazing work on behalf of tonight's forum. Let me also recognize a few special guests that we have with us tonight. We have Mayor Vince Lago, Commissioner Rhonda Anderson, Commissioner Kirk Menendez, and others from our city. Tonight's program will occur in three parts. First, we're going to have candidates for Group Commission number 4. Then we're going to have remarks by our recently re-elected Mayor, Vince Lago, at about 7:10. And then we're going to be followed by Group 5 at approximately 7:25 p.m. At this time, I'd also like to thank our lead sponsors. As we mentioned earlier, we have the University of Miami, which is a gem investor in the Coral Gables Chamber. We also have Efrain Sorra, who is owner of Sorra Global Insurance and Consulting, also a trustee member of our chamber. And lastly, we have Rag and Casas Strategic Communications, who are also trustees of our amazing Coral Gables Chamber. We would also like to recognize a few of our supporting partners who helped get the word out about tonight. First, beginning with Patrick O'Connell of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services EWM. Patrick is the chair of our Business and Government Affairs Committee and also a past chair of the Chamber. So thank you, Patrick. I'd also like to thank Mark Trowbridge and the entire team that we have at the Chamber for their wonderful work in making tonight a reality. Without them, this would not be possible. And thank you to the Gables Good Government Committee President, Susie Davis. I also want to thank the University of Miami's Rudy Fernandez, Maite Alvarez, and her associate Adrian Nunez, as well as our partner and co-event producer Abdias, Abby Rodriguez from UM, and the entire team at the Newman Alumni Center. Now on with our program. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our moderator for this evening. It's Mr. Antonio Mora. Antonio Mora is the Francis L. Wolfson Chair in Communication at the University of Miami Wolfson School of Communication. He is an award-winning journalist, best known for his years at ABC News, where he served as the news anchor for Good Morning America. He was also the main anchor at Miami's CBS 4, and early in his career, he was an anchor and reporter for NBC Miami. He graduated from Harvard Law School and writes columns for an opinion site on Substack called A View from the Center. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce Antonio, and thank you again for being here. Here we go.
Thank you, Maria. Hi, everybody. I am very pleased to be here as someone who has lived in Coral Gables on and off since I was 2 years old. My parents live here for 45 years, most of the time just down the road here on Santa Amaro, and I now live only a couple of blocks outside city limits, but I work here, spend most of my leisure time here, so I consider myself an unofficial resident. I'd probably like to be an official resident because your taxes are lower than mine, and I love Coral Gables. As Maria said, an event like this does not come together without a lot of people being involved. I'd especially like to thank everyone I'd like to thank everyone she mentioned, especially UM and the Chamber of Commerce. Mark Trowbridge has been great at the Chamber, and so has Abby Rodriguez at the university. Have been very, very helpful. So thanks to all of them. Let me share a few rules of engagement tonight. In order to maintain the timeliness of the program tonight and proper decorum, we've set some ground rules. The candidates have all been informed of this in advance. In fact, all of the candidates except Mr. Holmes have signed a positive campaign pledge. A few points here for the audience. Insulting and slanderous remarks, heckling, verbal outbursts during the program will not be tolerated. That includes any booing or any hissing, so please behave yourselves. I'm sure you will. Anyone, though, exhibiting that kind of behavior will be asked to leave by security. Signs, placards, banners, poem cards, pamphlets, any campaign materials are not for this room. They're for out there. The tables were provided to the candidates for anyone who wanted to use them, so please don't show any of that stuff in here. Again, audience, please hold your applause until the end, if possible, because we're pretty tight on time, so we'd like to get through as many questions as we possibly can. Again, thanks for your cooperation. I hope you'll find it to be an informative evening. The program, Maria gave you a sense of it. It's going to be divided into a few parts. We will start with the candidates from Group 4. We will then have a very short transition and cleaning break, followed by remarks by Mayor Lago, who was recently re-elected without opposition, as Maria mentioned as well. And then we'll conclude with the two candidates from Group 5. During each session, I will ask questions that will be a combination of stuff I've come up with myself, questions that have been submitted online to the chamber, and some questions that have been submitted here tonight. Only I know the questions that are going to be asked. I've cleared them with no one, so you can blame me after the fact if you don't like my questions. I'd like to introduce all the candidates now and ask them to please come up. The four candidates for Group 4 are Yvette Arango Olaski, Melissa Castro, Jackson Rip Holmes, and Sean Patrick McGrover. Please come on up, guys. Hello, everyone. The program will be conducted in the following manner. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to give opening statements. I will then ask questions in alphabetical order. Responses to the questions posed to the commission candidates will be limited to about a minute, and we will allow for some free-flowing discussion. I'll manage this along with any opportunity for rebuttal if some candidate mentions another candidate. And if there is a rebuttal, we're going to try to keep those to 30 seconds. In some questions, I may ask for very quick answers. Candidates are asked not to, please candidates, not to address each other, address me, address the audience. This is not meant to be a debate. It's meant to be an informative forum. Our timekeepers down here will provide the candidates with a countdown for their responses so they know how much time they've got. They are right here, as I said, in front of the dais, and a bell will ring when the time is up. By agreement, the candidates have all said that I can call them by their first names, but we will start in alphabetical order by their last names. So why don't we give a start now, and Yvette, you're first.
Good evening. I'm running as a member of this community. Yes, sir. Okay. Hi. Good evening. I'm running as a member of this community that has lived in Coral Gables for over 30 years. In fact, I am a double cane UM graduate. I want to keep Coral Gables as a community. I have dedicated my career to the advocacy of good economic development, issues that matter to all of us as a city where our children want to stay and grow their families. As a local business owner, I want to support local businesses. As a wife and mother, I want to protect our neighborhoods by supporting police and fire and opposing overdevelopment that results in the erosion of the character of our neighborhoods. We need to protect our green spaces and expand our cultural assets. We need to have a thoughtful and practical approach to balance development with overcrowding. I can hit the ground running. I've spent years working with county and state and gained insight into how legislation works and the importance of building consensus. We are stronger together. There's going to be times that we disagree, but we need to engage each other respectfully to tackle problems that are bigger than ourselves within this city, such as traffic, environment, resiliency, septic to sewer. We need to be accountable for ourselves within our local government, and just like any business, we need to do annual reviews to find the areas that are not working efficiently to the satisfaction of our residents. And we need to put the pressure on to fix them. I'm excited about using my time as your commissioner to maintain the quality of life, to serve this community that I love so much, and I want my children to love as well.
Melissa.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mark, the Chamber, University of Miami, and Gables Good Government for hosting us here tonight. My name is Melissa Castro, as we all can see, and I am an expert in understanding why we behave the way we do. I'm great at figuring out solutions to problems by changing just a few variables in the environment. But above all, I'm a very, very hardworking mom of two. Sadly, in September 2020, my mom accidentally passed away. Therefore, I own a business that I inherited here in the Gables. For more than a decade and a half, I've served my community in the psychology field. I have a 5-year-old who attends Santa Teresa, and I have a 19-year-old who's right there, that attends FIU. I am greatly involved in my community and hear the many needs that residents are seeking. As I always say, I breathe, I work, and I live Coral Gables. I am truly for the people, and I love my city dearly. I have spent most of my professional career listening, analyzing, and delivering results. My work ethic is impeccable. I am the type of person that would always put you, the residents, first. This is why I'm running, not only to make a difference, but to bring a different perspective. Let me represent you and be your voice. Thank you. Oh, never mind, sorry.
How are we doing?
Good.
Great. Okay, I've only got 90 seconds. I want to say a couple important things. So let me do a brief introduction. I was born in Coral Gables, hablo fluido el español. My grandfather, can you believe this, knew the founder, George Merrick. I'm as old as the hills. I'm a 5-time loser, and you'll get to know me. Hopefully most of you already do know me. Let me give you my 2 thoughts for the night. I recently had a battle with communism in Peru. My wife is Peruvian. They elected a communist dictator. I started studying. We're doing like, how are we gonna save our family business, right? Check it out. Here comes, stunning. All right, this could make the news. The Laura Eisenhower, great-granddaughter of President Dwight D. Eisenhower, her close friend, Alfred Lambermont Weber, told me, and she agrees, that Fidel Castro, our tormentor, was an extraterrestrial diabolical shapeshifter. The proof is on my website. I invite you to go there tonight. I couldn't bring a visual aid. Vertical slit eye pupils. Someone, if you wonder, you ever meet an extraterrestrial, check the pupils. Vertical slit eye pupils. You'll see it on my website, www.ripholmes.com. That's why we never beat Castro. Miguel Diaz-Canel is not. We can beat him. I got 15 seconds for my second message. We have got run amok development courtesy of Citizens United. We got to roll it back. I have the best way I know. Amend our charter so citizens are required to approve all major developments.
Sean.
Thank you. Thank you, University of Miami, everyone that has come out. I really appreciate this opportunity that I have. I'm excited about running for the seat. What I'm running on, I have a 4-point plan. It will probably take about 5 years to implement. But the first plan, if elected, I'd like to prepare for the recession coming. And what I mean by that is, I believe that our city needs to start cutting costs now in anticipation of these higher rates that are costing us more money. We need to cut our debt that we have on the books presently. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I believe we need to attract larger businesses to our community to increase new revenues and also create more opportunities in employment. The third one, which is a little bit controversial right now, but I'm going to go for it. I believe, and I would love to create a crypto coin for the city of Coral Gables to use as a utility to help with the work in the community. When developers come in, they can buy into this, dedicate some money to those coins to use, and then they can use it for permitting, stuff like that. Number 4, because I think I'm running out of time here, I'm a big proponent of our first responders and healthcare workers, and I believe we need to recognize them more because they care for our community and they protect our community. I would like to create a down payment assistance program for them to attract the best of the best and keep them happy because they keep us happy. Thank you.
Thank you all. Yvette, let's start with the elephant in the room. You just said that you oppose overdevelopment. You have favored smart development in some statements you've made. What does that mean, and how do you actually balance the development we need with overdevelopment?
So we're growing at a fast pace, and I think that's made a lot of our citizens uneasy. What is missing here is a roadmap. We need to, if we're going to be a serious government that runs well, we need to stick to the code. Exemptions to the code should not be the norm, because if we're changing the code from the dais, we're setting a precedent. That's not what we want. We need to be thoughtful, and that very issue about overdevelopment, overcrowding, feeds into a lot of issues, such as traffic, such as supporting our police and fire. So we can't be a reactive government. We have to be a proactive government in our decisions. We need to have a roadmap. We need to know what's coming online, and that roadmap has to be messaged to the community. We need to know what's coming online, what it's going to look like, and where it's going to stop.
Thanks. Melissa, you're among the many candidates whose business is somewhat connected to the real estate business. What are your plans, and how do you balance your personal interests and your professional?
Okay, so I just want to make clear that I am not for overdevelopment. I am for healthy development. What does that exactly mean, right? That means, do we have the infrastructure? Do we have enough police officers as it is right now? Do we have enough firemen? That's a big question to ask yourself. That's a question I ask myself every night. And if we do, I'm so sorry. Another thing would be prioritizing historic preservation with a healthy development. Let's put the character of Coral Gables first. Transparency with overdevelopment. Let's go ahead and at least at a 1 mile radius, send certified mail to all our neighbors. Make sure that we have all these digital kiosks. How come we're not putting this information in the digital kiosk? How come we're not involving the residents a little more? Thank you.
Rip, we just heard you say that development has run amok in Coral Gables. Online, one of your statements, you talked about how development has been a calamity for the city. But hasn't, on the other hand, development and this vibrant downtown Coral Gables helped keep taxes down for everybody?
Okay. Aren't we lucky that he's the moderator tonight if there's no one with more credibility than Antonio Mora?
Don't butter me up. It won't work.
But it's really a great honor to be here, and I also want to thank each and every one of you for showing up, for caring, right? All right, so here's my analysis of our problem in Coral Gables. The problem is development, but how did we get that problem? Thanks to Citizens United. Who would have ever thought that Citizens United, which allows unlimited spending, so now we have in our campaigns 4 times more money contributed to all the candidates than all of you voters combined. So it's Citizens United made it legal to buy City Hall. I hate to put it like that, but that's the reality we must contend with. We need to pass a referendum. We need to amend the charter so every major development requires voter approval.
Sean, you're a real estate broker, so I want to ask the same question I asked of Melissa. Where do you stand on development, and how do you balance your personal interests with public interests?
Yeah, thank you. I am a real estate broker. I don't practice. I just own the company. I'm actually in finance. I do mortgages and private money. In regards to development, I took a moment to jump on the Coral Gables website to see what development is happening right now. And I've noticed currently active and proposed, it's about 25 to 3,000 units. Now, that's less than 10% of our community. So I don't think right now we're overdeveloped, and the average height of these buildings are about 16 to 19 feet high, or stories I should say. I don't want overdevelopment. I don't want it. I believe some development's going to help our community. I believe revenues will be created by it, but I'm like with everyone else, I don't want us overpopulated. I don't want us to be Brickell. I think that's a hideous area of town. But I do believe with our Mediterranean bonuses and the way we design our buildings, we can have a phenomenal city. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to be staggering this so that it doesn't start with the same person every time. So Melissa, I'll start this one with you. A couple of you already referred to this, but since you have, and I'm going to try to stray here from the format. Let's try to do this quick for 15 seconds so that all of you are clearly on the record about this. Do you believe the commission should maintain the power to amend the zoning code, or should Coral Gables consider some sort of referendum process?
I think that it's a combination between what the residents want and the commission. And that's, period. That's my answer to that.
So no official referendum?
No.
Okay. Rip?
Yeah, so it's all about the referendum. We can't stop, I'm just going to say it, the evil development train. But we can slow it down. And we've got to give what the city of Miami Beach and the city of Key Biscayne have successfully done. It withstands Citizens United. Any major development requires approval. We can amend the charter to require approval by vote of the city's voters.
Sean?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. The question is basically whether the commission should be able to amend the zoning code, or whether it should be submitted to a referendum.
Well, I think our city's doing amazing. I've lived here since 2017. I think our leadership is phenomenal. And I think if we just believe in our leadership, we will get the things done that we need to get done. Thank you.
Yvette?
I think this goes back to the big picture. I mean, why would we be amending the zoning code? That's something that the commission has to look at. We have to look at traffic patterns. We have to look at how it impacts the residential neighborhoods. And I think that's why we have the process of going through the county commission, the city commission, I'm sorry. I mean, the citizens have the right to come in, speak their mind, and put their input on the record. But the city commission also needs to look at the staff and take advice from the staff.
Okay. You brought up traffic, so I'm going to skip over to traffic now and start with you, Rip. This is a question that came in online. Heavy traffic at peak hours continues to be an issue with the residents of Coral Gables, especially pass-through commuters. What is your number one solution to help curtail the issue?
Well, I'm going to bowl a strike on this one, okay? I've been a professional passenger transportation driver for 30 years. I helped Uber and Lyft get approved. Believe it or not, I was their inside taxi guy getting Uber and Lyft approved by the county. And our mayor, Vince Lago, has it right. I'm going to blurt this out. We did this penny sales tax promising the $32 million we've collected would all go to rapid transit. For half that, we could have put the metro rail on our highways, all right? That's the answer. Any of us commuting, we'd rather be on a metro rail and doing our own work instead of fighting traffic. Guess what? I hate to be so blunt here, right? You're going to say, this guy really has a loose tongue. The money was stolen, all right? There's different verbs we can use here. Misappropriate, blah, 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 blah. The head of the penny sales tax now is from Coral Gables. He agrees with me. We need to get that money back. Vince tried to sue to get it back. If I'm elected, we will sue.
What would you do, Sean, about the traffic situation?
Thank you. You know, when we drive through the community, through the school during school hours, we have those 15-minute flashing lights. I think during the high time of traffic, we should just slap those blinking lights up everywhere, and let them know that they can only go 15 miles an hour through our community. Pretty much they'll get the idea, and they'll start taking other paths to work instead of going through our community. If they speed through those blinking lights, let's ticket them. Let's show them that we don't mind them coming through, but we want them to abide by what we have going on. Thank you.
This is one of those problems that is bigger than Coral Gables. The city of Coral Gables, people want to be in Florida, people want to be in Miami, people want to be in the city of Coral Gables. We have about 50,000 people in this city. We have about 77,000 in our workforce. We are also the biggest donor county to Tallahassee tax state coffers. Our leaders need to be effective about dialing down dollars for effective solutions to traffic.
Melissa?
Thank you, Yvette. After knocking door to door, I have noticed that this is one of the main problems residents are having here in Coral Gables, traffic. And I ask myself, being Coral Gables, why don't we have synchronized lighting? Is it not part of the budget, or it should probably be a priority and be part of the budget? I see myself sometimes near downtown Coral Gables waiting on a light for 10 to 15 minutes. And I ask myself, should I pass it? I don't. I make a U-turn and I go somewhere else. But then again, this is Coral Gables. This should not be happening. Another thing that, it's a little bit of a crazy idea, but residential street limit cameras, obviously in streets that are very congested and that residents approve of it, most importantly, that they want it there. Also, reanalyzing schedules of reinforcement and punishment for tickets. Is there speed checks? Maybe there, then we can come up with a conclusion. Thank you.
Thanks. You kind of addressed this. I'm just going to bring it up because it was the most amusing and probably most passionate question we got. It said, is there any one of you who can do something about the long traffic lights? It's no wonder people go through red lights when they know they don't. When they know it's going to be long, they could be waiting 3 to 8 minutes for the traffic light to turn green again, and the green light is very short, and it goes on and on and on. Any of you want to touch that? If not, we can move on, and I'll ask Sean another question.
I'll go ahead and touch that because that is, I live in downtown Coral Gables, and there are certain lights that do not change. And that is a very big problem because I don't want to get a ticket. And I want to make sure that there's no camera there for me to get a ticket. That being said, isn't that an idea? To keep on placing little cameras in lights so that people could be more precautious and crime can be lower.
Anyone else want to touch that? Go ahead, Rip.
Yeah, it's really fun. I was driving a Tesla recently in my latest job, and I got a guy who that's his work in life, right? He's a subcontractor for governments, timing of traffic lights, and so I said, wait a second, I got to get your name, your number. Are you kidding? So they actually do computer program the various lights, and I know exactly what you're talking about. You're going to be waiting until Christmas before the light changes like it's supposed to, and then at that point you just run it, right? And then you go back and take a picture if you get a ticket. But there are companies, actually, that's all they do, is they help cities, municipalities, counties, whatever, program the lights.
Anyone else, or Sean, we can move on. Yep. All right, one of the other big issues, of course, for all of us, and one of the ones that cropped up the most in the questions we've received it addresses crime. While Coral Gables has about an average violent crime rate for cities around the country, one reputable site says that the city has a crime rate that is the general crime rate is higher because of property crime, higher than 73% of Florida cities and towns of all sizes. Our police budget is pushing, our public safety pushing $100 million if I've found my numbers correctly. Where do you suggest we spend our money to fight the issue of property crime in particular, but crime in general?
Thank you, Antonio. That's a question I haven't thought about. I feel very safe here in the city. I believe that if there is an increase in crime, we definitely have to get ahead of it, be proactive. If it means hiring more police officers, having maybe a community group that walks their community in the evenings. I think we have to get in front of it if it's getting worse. I personally feel very safe here in the city of Coral Gables.
Yvette?
First of all, I think our police and fire are first class in the nation. I recently took a tour of the police station, and I know that we're upping our game with technology to help fight crime. We have the use of drones, we have the use of body cameras, and we also have more communication within the neighborhoods. I think that partnership between our community neighborhoods and our police is key to fighting crime. And I think it also comes in waves, and they're aware of that. And they're also doing a lot to address those issues.
Melissa?
Okay, crime. I felt like I lived in very secure and very safe Coral Gables, but until I started walking, it was when I really was hearing the stories of cars being stolen and tags being stolen and burglaries. This is happening close to Lejeune, North Gables. I wasn't aware of it. I'm not seeing this in the news, but the residents are telling me this. And this is something to worry about. Why? Because I have 2 kids that are walking the streets, and I live in Coral Gables for the safety. I would support the commission with strategies of different schedules of reinforcement. I'm an expert in seeing what the antecedent is, analyzing the behavior, and delivering a consequence. I've seen the commission meetings, and I know that I could definitely support the commission with different schedules of reinforcement. Another thing that I would support would be cameras if residents are okay with that. And increase the neighborhood crime watch. Thank you.
Rip, that same question to you. Where put the money to address the property crime issue?
Thanks. First, I just want to make a quick praise of Chief Hudak with his fighting to get a lot of cameras out there. I think it is an effective crime fighter. And I think that the police unions are now telling us that we're having retention problems and recruiting problems because we're not competitive with like the county. So, you know, if you're the individual policeman, we're not paying enough. So, you know, obviously we need quality policemen, not just any policeman. So that would be where the money would go.
You and Yvette brought up technology at the police department. One of the questions that was submitted is, do you support tag reading technology on our streets to help curb crime? Yvette, you first.
I mean, I guess you get into the privacy matters, but whatever helps serve crime. I think tag reading technology is already being looked at. If it's not here already, I mean, we have cameras all over the city. That's already been implemented, and we want to make sure that we're having the conversation, that residents know what is out there, and that we're communicating with the residents everything that the police is doing so that they understand, and that communication has to be solidified moving forward.
Melissa?
Okay, do I agree with camera technology? I do. In fact, if it's crazy to say, I have cameras all over my residence, inside my residence. And I also have cameras in my office. But then again, it is not so much what I think or how I feel, but how the residents vote, what they want. And I think that's something that we need to put into consideration and respect. Everybody has different opinions about everything. The majority vote is what really counts. Thank you.
Rip, where do you stand on this one?
I'm pro-technology because unfortunately we do have people traversing every day our city. We do have robbery. I was subjected to 2 or 3 burglaries that really depressed me to this day. So the more information we have on who, forgive the expression, the perpetrators are, the more safe we are.
Sean?
I'm all for protecting our community. I think when we start implementing this type of technology where we're monitoring our neighbors and, you know, tagging them and just watching them, I think that's going a little too far. There's other ways that we can protect our community, you know, finding the right officers and the people that are here to protect us. I don't think I can get behind monitoring our community and our people in our community. So I would look for other opportunities to protect and grow our community.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to annexation. I hate double-barrel questions, but for the sake of time, I'm going to do one. Where do you stand on annexation? And if Coral Gables does annex this area that will increase the area of the city by about 10%, 900 acres according to this question, should the fire department budget and staffing be increased? Melissa, I think it's your turn.
That is a great question, and it's not a question that comes up a lot when I go and meet residents. I think that before the subject of annexation even comes in, we need to be very well structured, we need to have enough police officers, we need to have enough fire stations and first responders. And at the end of the day, it is the voters who decide, not me, not the commission. Our community is made up of the residents. And it is the residents who decide to vote if we really are ready for implementing a new Little Gables or High Pines. Thank you.
Thanks. Not that my opinion counts, but I'm going to give it because I've asked a question.
It could count.
Well, hopefully. Thank you. So I used to live in Little Gables, so I'm in favor of it. You know, but the thing is, it's all up to the voters, right? It's up to the voters. Then my second girlfriend in life lived in Ponce Davis. She dumped me, but she's great, believe me. So we want Ponce Davis. So, you know, but it's all up to the voters.
John?
Annexation. I believe it should be up to the voters. However, the opportunity to grow our community, it will increase our revenues, and with those revenues, we can invest in our first responders. So I'm for it, but I rather have the community decide through a vote. Thank you.
You bet.
Most people that I've spoken to in Little Gables are in favor of it. And I've heard people say that they should square off the borders. I've also heard arguments that say that there is cross-communication when there's a 911 call, it goes to county or it gets rerouted. We need to look at how many times we've had to call county for extra assistance. It might be a good idea, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we have enough Coral Gables fire and police bodies to be able to respond to calls, and that we're adequately supporting our first responders.
You know, a couple of you mentioned salaries and the economy. This is a question that came from the audience tonight. I haven't fact-checked this, but it says findings from a recent wage study found Coral Gables to be behind similar cities in wage and benefit creating, which has created high turnover. How important are competitive salaries, and what would you do in order to achieve that? Rip.
Can someone else go first? Because I got to make sure I comprehend it.
Sure, I can ask it again, but if
go ahead.
Sean, you want to go again? Do you want to change the order if that's okay with everyone? I will repeat the question. Findings from a recent wage study found that Coral Gables is behind similar cities in wage and benefits.
Now I get it.
That's created higher turnover. How important are competitive salaries, and what would you do in order to achieve that?
Okay, thank God I got a reprieve here. Because I'm for lower taxes. A former mayor trained me well, George Corrigan. He said, look, the voters care about 3 sacred cows: strong police, strong fire, and strong trash pickup. He said, after that, to some extent, everything is expendable. I am for low taxes. So, I mean, I'm just speaking from the heart here because you got to move on. I'm not worried about the city employee who's getting a big fat paycheck. I'm worried about people who can't make ends meet, who are paying those taxes.
Sean?
Thank you. All right, let me think this through. One more time with the question, please.
Sure. Let me find it. But the bottom line is that the Gables is behind comparable cities when it comes to wages, and what would you do to make them
thank you.
more competitive?
So I, like I mentioned earlier, I have a 4-point plan. The 4th part of the plan is to show our first responders, healthcare workers, teachers that we do care for them by setting up a down payment assistance program to help them. You're going to find, or you may already know this, more people feel better about their jobs when they feel like they're part of that community or that employment. That's the first thing. The second thing is everybody wants to be in something that's bigger than themselves. So in regards to compensation, if we are currently compensating them reasonably, then what it is, we have to find how to keep them happy, how to keep them excited about working with us in the community. So again, I would have to look at the budget. That's part of my first part of the plan, is looking at our expenses and seeing what we're actually spending to see if it even makes sense right now, especially with a recession coming. Thank you.
You bet.
I want to fact check that. I think it's important to know the facts. I don't like speaking off the cuff with numbers that I'm not familiar with. And I don't think that's a good way to just give an answer. So I want to look at what the numbers actually are, what the salaries actually are. I think we need to provide competitive salaries, of course, especially, teachers and first responders. But the grass is not always greener on the other side. You have to balance out benefits and your budget.
Melissa?
I don't know if it's common knowledge or maybe it's knowledge that I just have, but a lot of the city employees do not make a great amount of money. There's a lot of city employees that are going, yes, we provide beautiful service, and we have excellent residents that make our jobs even a lot easier. But a lot of our employees are leaving to other cities because the pay rate is not that high. I feel that employees need to feel valued and they need to feel respected. That way they could give A+ customer service and serve us at their best ability. Thank you.
One of you brought up trash. I think it was you, Rip, but let's go to Yvette on this one. This is a question again from the audience. Are you in favor of maintaining the current bulky yard trash pits on our city streets, or should the city seek another solution for this, like centralized drop-off points for residents?
I think that's a matter that really I've gotten mixed reviews about from certain residents. Certain residents really don't want that swale. Some want to just fill it, and some want the swale. I think it's important to look at also the recycling. Miami-Dade County has a 19% recycling rate. That is one of the worst in the entire state. We need to look at the messaging and the education behind how we can help the trash problem. And this is something that a resident at any age can assist in, and we can make better.
Melissa?
I am 100% for the trash pits. I like the way that we're handling it right now. However, I feel that we are having difficulty enforcing and making things look the way they're supposed to look at the times they're supposed to be there. So I would support the commission with, as I mentioned before, different schedules of reinforcement that would be more effective and that would increase the likelihood of behaviors occurring in the future. Thank you.
How about you, Rip?
Yeah, I think it's really a great question, and it goes back to the previous one. What are the priorities of the taxpayers? Our dearly deceased former Mayor George Corrigan says that your priorities, you want a strong fire, you want a strong police department, and you want a strong trash pickup. So I'm for spending more money, not less, for being more convenient to the resident on trash pickup. If it costs more, that's what people want, I think, is good trash pickup, so they don't have to worry about it.
Sean?
So are we talking about trash pickup or the lawn stuff? Because my garbage pickup guy is amazing. He comes to the back of my home, grabs my garbage and takes it away. I don't take anything out to the swell.
The question is specifically about the trash pits, those swales in front of your house where people put all sorts of things, some which they're allowed to and some which they're not allowed to.
Yeah, the only thing I've noticed on my street is, when the landscapers come in, they drop the trimmings and stuff from the gardening and stuff. I don't actually see any excessive garbage on my street. If that's an issue, I would definitely look into it, because I don't want to see an ugly community. I want us to have a beautiful community, and if that's a struggle for some of our neighbors, I definitely want to clean that up quickly.
I'll go to another question from the audience tonight, going back to crime and the police department. What is your opinion of the responsiveness of our police department to our residents and businesses? I think it's your turn, Melissa.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the response time is between 4 to 6 minutes. I believe so, right? I think Miami-Dade was telling me the response time should be between 2 to 4 minutes. I haven't really personally had any incidents that I've had to call the police for, but I don't want to wait for that to happen. I know that we've increased our police, but we still need more. Thank you.
Rip?
Yeah, so, we have, I think, truly one of the best police departments. You'll remember during coronavirus when people would come to the grocery store and freak out or this or that. I never worried about the person who was freaking out. I felt sorry for him, right? But I knew that we have a good police department that is educated and can get into the mind of the person who's acting abnormally. We have a good police department, and so we just need to make sure that we pay them enough to keep getting the best ones.
Sean?
4 to 6 minutes. I think you're right, Melissa. 4 to 6 minutes. That's not a long time for a first response. I think that's amazing. I think our community does very well at responding quickly. I was speaking to one of our neighbors maybe a week ago. She mentioned that her mom had a couple incidents, and the first responders were there in a short period of time. So I'm very excited about our first responders here in the community. Thank you.
I mean, safety is an integral part of a good community. That's something that speaks to all of us. And obviously, if you're home with your kids, you want to know that the response time is good. If it's not good, that's something we need to discuss, we need to look into, and we need to address immediately.
I'll ask you a few miscellaneous questions. Rip, I guess I'll start with you on this one. What is the single most important life experience or job that you've held that makes you a good candidate for the Coral Gables City Commission?
Well, I would say that being born into a family, we're the oldest property-owning family on Miracle Mile. And, I once joked with a policeman. I said, so by pure luck, right, happenstance, there's no glory in it. Two people sit down on a park bench, but my grandfather did know George Merritt. And then, let me tell you something. I'm one of the poorest people in this room. I hate to tell you that, but I am. I'm one of the, I live in, practically affordable housing. I'm one of the poorest. So every day is a survival trip for me. And so it's a fight for survival. I'm running to keep Miracle Mile the way it is, to keep it out of the hands of the developers. And I think a lot of you are feeling the same way. We need to rise up and have our voices heard.
Sean?
From 2003 to 2008, I had a very successful business in Central Florida, and I was making a huge amount of money. And then the recession came, and it destroyed me and everyone else. So I have no issues there. But I feel that we're about to see that same issue back in 2008 happen over the next 12 to 24 months. The city can be impacted if they're not ready to start looking at cutting expenses, looking at their capital expenditures, increasing revenues. So I think right now we need someone that has a mindset about business and investing, and that's my background. Right now, all the seats are taken by attorneys. 2 are leaving, 2 more are trying to get those seats. So let's diversify the city. Thank you.
Let's talk to one of those attorneys. Yvette?
Those darn attorneys.
I'm one too.
Well, but I'm a lot more than that. I am an attorney. I graduated from the University of Miami School of Law, but I've also spent a good part of my life working with the county and working with the state. I can hit the ground running. I don't need on-the-job training. I know what it is to draft legislation. I know what it is to build consensus. I'm also a business owner and a mom. I have a very practical approach to things. I think about how it affects me on a daily basis with my kids, how it affects me on a practical level if I have to put the phone down, stop what I'm doing with my business to go deal with something that's affecting me because of the city. So that practicality is something that I bring forward, and that dynamic background with working with government already makes me ready for this job.
Melissa?
I've spent over a decade and almost a half listening, which is actually a skill, analyzing, and delivering results. And in my opinion, that's what a commissioner has to do. So most of my career I've spent listening, and that's what I intend to keep on doing. Listening to all of your concerns and addressing them. Thank you.
Let's talk about housing, since Rip brought it up again. I'm sure that the sharp rise in housing prices is affecting a lot of people here and a lot of our friends and families. I know it's a real challenge at UM for students, for staff, for faculty, especially people who are being hired from other places. What plans do you have to either at least keep the affordable housing that exists as envisioned by George Merrick, or expand the affordable housing that exists? Sean, let's start with you.
Well, I don't think we have to worry right now about the housing issue because we're going to hit a major recession. These property values are going to plummet in the next 12 months. There's going to be huge opportunities for new first-time homebuyers to come into the market. Right now, there's nothing in the market. I look at it every day. It's ridiculous how South Florida has grown over the past decade. But what I saw in 2008, I'm already seeing the telltale signs now, and we're going to see a huge plummet in property values here. And that's going to open the doors to a lot of first-time home buyers, as well as give those lower income households the opportunity to own homes. So it's like the sky is falling, but I've seen it before, and I'm just trying to warn everybody. Thank you.
Affordable housing, it's an issue because, especially our generation, we're raising little kids and then we're looking to take care of our elderly generation. So it is a big issue. I firmly believe in public-private partnerships and opportunities to partner with the private sector. We can come up with better out-of-the-box ideas if we reach outside of ourselves. There may be some good solutions where we can come up with ideas for affordable housing.
Not long ago, probably a month and a half ago, I went with the chamber and the city and some of the commissioners that are here to Tallahassee, and this is one of the subjects that that we addressed. It's not only affecting Coral Gables; it's affecting all of Florida, and it's a problem. I learned that some of the state representatives and other employees have to go back to living with their parents. And this is a really big problem that professionals, attorneys, all different type of professionals have to go back to living at home. So yes, this is something that we really need to put into consideration and discussion and come up with a solution to address this matter.
Rip?
Yeah, I know you said don't butter you up here, but isn't he amazing because he keeps asking the questions that are the most important? Because one thing that we've seen, I've seen, is the rent prices, I rent, are just galloping upward. Like there's no, and we know that the price of housing is just skyrocketed. It's success, but maybe it's almost even too much success. So we need more housing. So I would tell people I am against developers, but we need more housing. So we need developers for housing, right? And we got a big problem here. And so whether it be narrowly defined affordable housing or just housing that all of us can afford, we need more.
Okay, well, we have now reached the end of our time, so we're going to transition to closing statements. You have 90 seconds each, and we will begin with Sean.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out and giving us this time with you guys, gals as well. Like I mentioned, I have a 4-point plan: cut cost, attract businesses to increase revenues, increase employment, create a very unique crypto coin for our community, and help our first responders, healthcare workers, and nurses. And I want to emphasize, we have had attorneys holding these seats for a very long time, and this is an opportunity to put new ideas into the city. I would hope you guys would come out and vote for me. I build businesses, I do investments, I've made a lot of money, I've lost a lot of money. I know what needs to be done, especially during a time of recession and inflation. And I promise you, you guys vote for me, you will be very happy with the outcome over the next 5 years. Thank you.
It's a good idea to always provide connectivity to the heart of our central district, business district. I mean, we have so many wonderful assets. We need to focus on those beautiful cultural assets, such as the Gables Museum. Tomorrow we have the Moon Project by the Coral Gables Foundation. I encourage everybody to go out there. And I know the Chamber's involved with that. Everyone, we have a lot of beautiful things here. I'm the best qualified for this job because I have deep roots into this community. I don't need on-the-job training, and I have a passion to serve. And I very much appreciate the community support I've already received. People want to know that their government hears them, that things are not forced on them. We need to continue with our messaging. We need to build our communications with our residents, and we need to make sure to include them in the process. Thank you.
Melissa.
In a short period of 2 years and during the pandemic, I have achieved great success in my business here in Coral Gables. I cannot only imagine what I could do for the city if elected in a 4-year term. I'm excited to announce that I'm the finalist for Businesswoman of the Year Awards from the Coral Gables Chamber. I am that one person that would never give up on you or my community. I have always been available 24 hours a day for all my patients and clients. And I intend to continue that for the residents of Coral Gables. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm a person of my word. Unlike others, I'm not an attorney, and I'm not taking developer money. I will bring a different perspective and a fresh voice. All you have to do is vote for me, Melissa Castro, April 11th, number 71 on the ballot. Thank you.
Last but not least, Rip.
Thank you. Aren't all of these people great? You know that their heart is totally beautiful. We're a lucky city. If you're worried about overdevelopment, I humbly admit to you, I am your candidate. And I think it's important to focus on it's really, we're in a place now where it's development versus children. Coral Gables used to be a place where accomplished people like yourselves would move here knowing that you would be able to raise your children safely, protected from urbanization and the crime that comes with it. That's passé. That door has slammed shut. That's the Coral Gables of yesteryear. It's not coming back thanks to Citizens United. I'm the guy who's carrying me. Let me point out one more example. We got the Ponce corridor from the Coral Gables Courthouse north to Bird Road. There's the developer who wants to upzone that or whatever. It's right now it's family residential, right? Single family or duplex. They want to change it to townhomes. Okay, this is not what we want for Coral Gables' future. Do you want to raise your kids on Brickell Avenue at best, or worse, if it's a high crime area? We don't need this. We need to put the brakes on it, and I am dedicated to saving our city by amending the charter so that we take back control from the developerocracy.
Thank you all. You guys have been a very well-behaved audience, so now you can applaud them. Thanks again to all the Group 4 candidates. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we will go to Group 5.
So it's my pleasure to introduce our unopposed, uncontested mayor of Coral Gables, Vince Lago. I'll just do a handoff to you. Yeah.
Thank you. How's everybody doing?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, good evening. I'd like to see if we can get everybody into the room. I'll be brief, I promise. I know everybody wants to hear from the commission candidates. But first off, before I kind of give a little bit of a quick synopsis of the last 2 years and what we're looking forward to do over the next 2 years, I want to say thank you to Patrick, Antonio. I also like to thank the Chamber, along with Mark Trowbridge, who has done an exceptional job and continues to work steadfast, lockstep with the city to push our business community forward. So I want to say thank you for all your efforts, along with University of Miami for hosting us. They're always the gracious hosts. They never say no. So thank you very much to University of Miami, and send my best to the president. I also want to thank all the candidates who decided to throw their hat in the ring today. Running for office is incredibly difficult, but when you have the privilege to serve, it's even more difficult on your friends, on your family, and your colleagues. So I ask you, for those who are privileged enough to serve this city, prepare yourself to have a strong stomach. Always do what is right on behalf of the city, and never wilt to special interests. With that being said, I'm truly honored and immensely humbled to have the opportunity to continue to represent the voices within our community as your mayor. Serving for a second term without opposition, I am blessed to live in a city with such rich history, culture, and engaged residents. I'm proud to announce that a lot of major milestones have been accomplished during my first term as mayor. Let's begin with the fulfillment of the mayor's strategic plan. It is the first time in history that a strategic plan has been devised by the mayor's office. Accomplishing this plan could not have been made possible without the leadership of the mayor's Citizens Advisory Council. I'd like to take a personal point of privilege to thank Mark Trowbridge, Maria Cruz, and Alex Bucello, who served on the mayor's council over the last 2 years and have given up a lot of their time to make sure that the strategic master plan will be implemented and followed through as the will of the commission. They've also played a big role in ensuring that we roll out our next effort, which is going to be the app, which is going to play a big role in how the city is perceived and how people actually interact with the city. So my office takes great pride in listening to residents' concerns and opportunities for citizen engagement. One of the hallmarks of my office is my open door office hours, which takes place at City Hall every Friday, where anyone looking to speak with me is welcome to stop by with no appointment necessary. You can see me there on Friday starting at 2 o'clock, and sometimes we're there at a minimum until 5. Sometimes we stay till 6 or 7 o'clock, depending on how many residents show up. We also host biannual town halls, send out monthly newsletters, and prioritize transparency in all our efforts. We have focused on enhancing resident quality of life. Since 2018, when I introduced an ordinance that set aside money for park acquisitions, we have grown our parks to 260 acres and are well on our way to meeting our goal of a park or open space within 10-minute walk of anywhere in our city. We have also inaugurated 2 new neighborhood parks, Majority Park and Lamar Louis Curry Park, and renovated Pierce Park. My future long-term vision over the next 2 years is to have approximately 10 parks in the downtown area, and we're well on the way. We have also begun operating the historic Coral Gables Golf and Country Club and have improved safety on our streets. Addressing the issue of the country club was one that had been a can that had been kicked down the curb for years. This commission had the intestinal fortitude to address that issue. Along with Burger Bob's, we will deliver a world-class experience. Burger Bob's and the country club will be something that is a hometown favorite, and it's something that we'll be incredibly proud of for generations to come. We have also installed traffic calming devices throughout the city, replaced more than 2.5 miles of sidewalks and pedestrian ramps, milled and resurfaced nearly 4 miles of roadways. To beautify our city, we have also planted dozens and dozens of trees to increase our tree canopy. Every world-class city provides viable forms of transportation. We have expanded our popular trolley service to include Saturday service and expanded our freebie service, which connects to Metro Rail Station. We will have big news coming now in regards to freebie. I'm looking forward to it, a significant upgrade. We're working on that as a commission. And also we will hopefully have Sunday service for our trolleys in the downtown. Over 1 million people use our trolley every single year, and we've seen a big boom in regards to the downtown use, which is something that I'm very proud of, and it has not cost the city $1 over the last 2 years because it was paid through the TPO, through demonstration projects. As mayor, I understand that it is critically important to invest in our local business community. The Central Business District is vitally important as it provides 27% of our ad valorem taxes. We're really focusing on driving business into our downtown through community events by the way of our Economic Development Department. In 2022, more than 5.7 million pedestrians visited Miracle Mile, making it a 62% increase over the previous year. Over the last 2 years, the city has worked on numerous partnerships with consulates, which we now have 22 as of this week, and foreign offices to bring high-quality cultural events to our downtown, like Day of the Dead from the Consulate of Mexico, the Colombian Festival, and we're working on 2 more for this year. Events like these not only drive business in our downtown, but are geared to celebrate different cultures and educate our community about different cultural traditions. It is also important to ensure that we have not only have a clean and beautiful city, but also a clean downtown. This has led us to embark on the Downtown Beautification Project, host multiple cleanup events to drive awareness on the importance of keeping our city beautiful, and I have also adopted legislation to require property owners to maintain and preserve and pressure clean their sidewalks and their facades. We have also, as a city, addressed landscaping throughout the city. That is the first time in our downtown areas, the first time that has actually happened in probably 20 years, we've replaced the downtown. Along with the sidewalks, you can actually see that they're pink now. We're working along with the trolleys, the cleanliness, and obviously our police and fire to make the experience in the downtown a world-class experience. While all the projects we're working on are important, we continue to remain vigilant on our finances. We are proud that our administration has maintained a fiscal approach, which is recognized by our AAA bond rating, which we have received from leading credit rating agencies such as Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch. We have maintained the second lowest millage rate for a full-service city in Miami-Dade County. And like I've said before, I say it here today, I will not raise taxes. The only way to grow a city's bankroll, our budget, is very simple. And that is by growing organically. How do you do that? By raising property values, having a clean city, having a safe city, having a city that is welcoming. Where your property values are rising, you're paying more in taxes, but you're reaping the benefits because people are coming to our downtown, and it's evidently clear when you visit our downtown. With regards to customer service, which is something that I hear a lot about, we have launched an all-new state-of-the-art website with improved capabilities. In addition, we have opened our brand new development services building, which serves as a one-stop shop for all permitting and code enforcement services, planning, and helps streamline permitting services with electronic permitting. A lot of people talk about permitting as an issue here in the city. In the last 2 years, we have put together a development services building, which is right across the street at 427, spent $4 million on that property. It's a one-stop shop, like I mentioned. And we have new technology where we have now gone from the antiquated ways of handling a permit on paper to now doing it digitally. That allows for multiple disciplines to review a plan and expedite the process. Right now, that software is working at about a 90%, and we're looking to get to about 100% probably in the next 2 or 3 months. Our city is moving in the right direction of permitting, but to be honest with you, it takes time. At one point, we had moved everyone from 427 all the way into our city hall building. We had crammed everyone in there, and then we had to teach everybody when we moved back into the building a year later on that new world-class software. And that started happening in August and September. So no excuses. This is what I do for a living. I'm in the construction and real estate business. So trust me, this is a major priority for myself and my colleagues in the commission. In the realm of technology, we are grateful to have such a talented IT team, and we have started the expansion of the public Wi-Fi and fiber optics throughout our downtown, which will be a reality over the next 2 years. And we were named a smart city in 2022. When it comes to public safety, which is a priority for this commission, we continue to have one of the lowest crime rates in Miami-Dade County, and we have also implemented a piloted drone technology enhancing the police department's ability to protect and respond to all emergencies. We have also begun planning to add a new police unit dedicated to patrolling the downtown Coral Gables, expanding our police presence. And we're looking forward to Fire Station 4 breaking ground within a few months. That will expand our response times and increase our response times to the residents who live in that area of Sunset, the Platinum Triangle, Old Cutler. Critically needed as we continue to not just rest on our laurels, we continue to make this city better, because we know that when there's an emergency, every second counts, and we want to make sure we get there to save your loved ones. Finally, I'm proud to announce that we have received a record high amount of funding in state appropriations in the city's history, $4.5 million. That happened as a result of 4 visits to Tallahassee. It's the first time that a commission has come together and has visited Tallahassee 4 times during one session. Just so you're aware, myself and along with my colleagues have already visited Tallahassee in this session 3 times, and I'll be going again this month. We are making critical inroads in Tallahassee, and it's paying off. We had never received over $1 million, and this year, between water projects and appropriations, we received 4.5. While we have covered so much ground over the last 2 years, there are many other items I plan to unfold over the next 2 years. For example, the ratification of my 2023 to 2025 strategic plan. Presently, the Mayor's Council, as I mentioned, and I think J.C. Padron was here before, and I may have missed him if I did. is working on finalizing the 2023 strategic plan, which once finalized will be ratified by the commission once again. In this plan, I will outline some of my major goals, which include building on our open green space and park activations, improving transportation options, and a variety of other goals which I plan to accomplish as I did with my last plan. The reason why the strategic master plan is incredibly important to this commission is because it holds us accountable. No commission has ever done a plan that is published online, and every single year we review it before the residents during a commission meeting. It's basically a checklist to grade ourselves to ensure that we stay online with things that we believe are important. Not just promises, it's actually in writing. And that sets us apart from any other commission that I'm aware of in Miami-Dade County. Thank you for all who have supported me, especially the commission and my colleagues. While we don't always agree, even though we agree probably 95% of the time, I'm blessed to have you serving this commission. You have been first class. You have been the true example of collegiality, of respect. And people look at Coral Gables when we visit them and when I speak with them on multiple issues, they always mention the respect and the dignity that this commission shows, even in disagreement. I'd also like to thank, besides my supporters, everyone who has helped me accomplish, and especially my office, who has done an incredible job working with the residents and the business community over the last 2 years, including my family and my wife and the community supporters. I hope tonight has given you a better idea on which candidates to support, and I encourage you to reach out to me and directly if you would like to have any other information in regards to which candidates I think are the best qualified to serve the city and I support. I would be happy to discuss this with you on a personal note. Again, I'm blessed to be your mayor, and never forget, my door at City Hall is always open. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Lago. So we're going to go ahead and roll right into the Group 5 candidates. So if I will call back up our esteemed moderator, Antonio, when you're ready, I'll pass it over to you, and I think we'll be pretty much ready to move on to the next group. So thank you all for remaining with us.
Thank you, Patrick. Why don't I start by calling them up? The candidates for Group 5, Alex Bucedo and Ariel Fernandez. The rules are pretty much going to be the same. I'm not going to bore you by repeating them, but I think, assuming you guys agree, maybe we can make it, since it's only 2 of you, maybe we can make it a little bit less formal than what we did with the other 2. But again, we're trying to avoid a debate, try to have it be an informational conversation. Let's begin by your prepared statements. And again, we'll do it in alphabetical order. So Alex, why don't you go first?
Perfect. Thank you, Antonio. I want to thank the Chamber. I want to thank Mark Trowbridge for once again hosting this important event for the Coral Gables community, allowing the voters to hear each other's platforms. I've been knocking on doors for a couple months now, and I can tell you talking to voters is a priority for me, which is why I'm very grateful for the opportunity to join you all here tonight. My name is Alex Bucedo. I'm a candidate for Coral Gables Commission in Group 5, number 74 on your ballot. I was born and raised in Coral Gables, and I'm proud to call Gables home. I'm an attorney, and over the past years, I've been very involved in the community, serving in multiple boards. From the time in Code Enforcement Board, to my time in the Planning and Zoning Board, to the Coral Gables Museum, Mayor Advisory Board, like the mayor mentioned earlier, and the War Memorial Board of the Youth Center, where I serve with Commissioner Kirk Menendez. I'm running because I want to make sure that the character and charm of our community is maintained. Our community remains safe, our taxes remain low without reducing city services, and I want Coral Gables to be more environmentally resilient. And I'll always side with my neighbors in opposition to large-scale developments. As a matter of fact, I'm the only candidate running for Coral Gables Commission who's actually voted against large-scale developments. My campaign is about putting our residents first. Every time I knock on a door, I get an opportunity to speak to one of my neighbors. I learn more about the issues affecting them and how we can address them. I'm very grateful to all of you for being here today. I look forward to hearing your suggestions and ideas, and thank you.
Ariel.
Thank you, Antonio. Thank you to the Chamber, to the Good Gables government for putting this together, and Antonio for the great job that you've done so far in this forum, trying to butter you up. And I want to thank the members of the commission who are here to hear us tonight as well. I think it's important for us to begin the dialogue and the future of this city by having you guys present and hearing what we all represent. And to all of you who have made it out and those watching from home, thank you for participating and thank you for your interest in making Coral Gables what it is today, a community of residents that makes us feel part of something bigger here in South Florida. We live in a great county, but many communities are not as united as Coral Gables is, and we are a united community. We're a united community who is trying to keep the charm of Coral Gables by eliminating the overdevelopment that is currently taking place. We have over 40 new projects that are coming online in the next few years, some already approved, some that haven't even been disclosed. These projects are all going to be affecting each and every one of us, with traffic, parking, with all of the infrastructure that we're currently missing. Residents also need to be the priority. I think residents right now are an afterthought. We need to make sure that residents always come first. Crime and safety are an issue in our city. I know we hear that our numbers are low. We don't see those numbers. It's important to see those numbers. So as a commissioner, with me, you'll have somebody who will always be listening and ready to work for you.
Thank you both. Both of you have run before. Why run again? What motivates you to run for the City Commission, Alex?
I'll echo my opening comments, which is I was born and raised in Coral Gables. I've had the pleasure of living here my entire life. My wife and I reside off of Biltmore Way. I've served this city now for 6-7 years in different boards. Like I mentioned prior, I've been on the Code Enforcement Board, Planning and Zoning, Mayor Advisory, and so on. I think that's given me a platform to learn the issues, to address the issues, but more importantly, to get to know our residents. And having done that, I think in my personal life, I'm also an attorney, so I know what it is to advocate. So putting my experience in the city plus my personal life being an attorney, I'm ready to advocate for the residents. I'm ready to hear them, and I'm ready to address the issues.
Ariel, how about you? What motivates you to run?
Over the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity of being part of Gables Insider and really diving into what's going on in our city and listening to what the needs of the community are. As Gables Insider, many people have considered us another wing of the city and have brought up a lot of issues that are taking place and concerns that they have. And I've had the opportunity to work with some members of the commission to address some of those issues. And it's been a great opportunity. 8 years ago, I ran for this seat. I was not elected, but I did stay involved. I was appointed to the Property Advisory Board, served there for 2 years, went on to serve as 6 years on the School Community Relations Committee, and I'm proud of the work that we were able to do as a community and as boards. We have great volunteer boards in this city, and they work on many issues addressing the needs of our residents. I just want to continue giving back to this city. We chose this city to start our family. We chose Coral Gables. We didn't choose Brickell Gables.
You said that the city is very united. In a way, the two of you are probably arguably the most polar opposites among the candidates in that Alex has been endorsed by the mayor and is seen as an ally of the mayor. You, as you mentioned, the Coral Gables Insider is arguably a thorn in the side of the city commission. How would you make that work?
I don't think a thorn so much. I think we are raising issues that maybe some on the commission don't want to address or can't address for X, Y, or Z. I think as a member of the commission, I'll be able to raise some of these issues in a different location. On Gables Insider, we write about things, then they just fall on deaf ears. And I think that's one of the main concerns that residents have right now. We do have an opportunity for residents to speak at commission meetings, and a lot of times, nothing happens. And I think that is a large problem we're having today. Residents cannot be an afterthought. They have to be the priority. Developers walk into City Hall, they get whatever they want. That's just the way that it's been for many years. Residents need to be the ones who walk into City Hall and get what they need. And that's what I want to bring.
What do you think about that, Alex? Would you be too, is a dissenting voice important, or is more unity and alliance the priority?
You had mentioned unity, and I think that's critically important. Like you had mentioned, I have the endorsement of the mayor, but I also have the endorsement of Commissioner Menendez, Commissioner Rhonda Anderson, former Commissioner George Forrest, Commissioner Vice Mayor Mike Mena, and probably over half a dozen previous elected officials here in Coral Gables. I'm telling you that because I think I've gotten their endorsements because they trust me. I think they trusted my leadership, my skill to deliver. Even more importantly, I think they trust in my leadership and how I will affect change in the city of Coral Gables. And when it comes to unity, I think I'm blessed to have their endorsement, but more importantly, there will be times where we disagree. There will be times where we disagree, and that's fine. And as long as we can do it with respect, and so long that the city is benefiting from it, I'm all for it. So thank you.
By the nature of this, many of my questions are going to have to be the same as what I asked the earlier ones. I'll try to take a different spin on some. Alex, you said no more large-scale developments. Why not? Aren't large-scale developments, we've talked about, the mayor's talked about it too, the engine that is the downtown area for Coral Gables. If we don't have that kind of development, will the city not suffer?
As I mentioned, I served time in the Planning and Zoning Board. When I mean by development, I mean overdevelopment, out-of-scale development. So during my time in the Planning and Zoning Board, a very controversial project came before us. This project was on University and Ponce. During that meeting, several residents, I would say over 40 residents, attended. And I had the ability and the blessing to actually engage with those residents during my time there. And I heard their concerns. Neighboring properties, neighboring residents heard their concerns, how a development that was 90 feet was requesting, and don't quote me, close to 177. So in situations such as those, I'm going to side with the residents 10 times out of 10. So that's what I mean by out-of-scale development. Not development, but out-of-scale development. So we have a zoning code. I want to respect the zoning code and follow it.
Ariel, what about you? The mayor said, no new taxes. How do you avoid new taxes if there isn't, if the community keeps growing and there isn't more development?
Well, I think our tax revenues have increased 25% over the last 7 years, and we have not increased the millage rate. So that's a testament to our property values here in Coral Gables. But overdevelopment is causing numerous issues to our residents. We have residents here who wake up every morning, they open their door and they see a towering plaza building with music on weekends and lights that are coming into their homes. These are problems that are affecting our everyday residents who purchased homes in our city with the intent of living in a residential neighborhood, and now they have a tower in front of them where we're celebrating parties. I'm sorry. We need to stop, we need to review what we're doing, and we cannot continue on the path of overdevelopment in Coral Gables. We have a zoning code. Let's adhere to the zoning code. How many years have we spent devising the zoning code that we have today? Yet here we are, every time a developer comes up, they want 196 feet, we approve it. And my opponent says he's voted against this project. His exact quote was, I'm okay with increasing the height by 10 or 20%. So obviously he's not for respecting the zoning code.
You have
May
the
I
chance to
comment?
rebut. Yeah.
Thank you. And to follow up on that quote, I did say that, but when it goes to development, I think it's two-pronged. I think A, resident input, and B, resident benefit. In the statement that I said that the residents were obtaining a park. I believe it was over an acre of park, green space that the developer in that particular situation was going to be close to $3 million to renovate. So although my most important issue is I'm willing to give, and one example was another project where it was, we allowed them 7 feet more, but they cut density in half. That to me is a win. There was not one resident opposed to that opposition. So when it comes to development, I want resident input and resident benefit. Thank you.
In the context then of development, we talked about affordable housing earlier. Again, how do we have more affordable housing if we don't have more housing?
I think affordable housing is an issue that's affecting all of Miami-Dade County, but I think has really been unreasonable for folks to find affordable housing in Coral Gables. But I'll give you an example. The Lifetime building where Trader Joe's is, that was proposed as workforce housing. New developer comes in or new management comes in, they buy the building for $430 million, and now they have to recover their money. What happens? They raise their rent from one day to the next, 40 and up to 60%. Now this is workforce housing. We have people who are in the military, teachers, people who work at Publix, who are living in this building. All of a sudden they're priced out. Guess what? Half of the building is vacant right now because they cannot afford to live in that building. And they did it without adhering to Miami-Dade County Code, which requires a 60-day notice. You can read about it. It's been written about. Miami Herald has covered it. Gables Insider has covered it. This cannot continue to happen in the city of Coral Gables. If somebody comes to us with a project and says it's for workforce housing, it must remain for workforce housing, and we must hold them accountable.
What about affordable housing, Alex? As Ariel mentioned, and I mentioned earlier, we're seeing it across Coral Gables and affecting all sorts of different people, including, as I mentioned earlier, I have a student who asked for a recommendation to go to another university because her parents decided they just simply couldn't afford off-campus housing in this area. What are we going to do?
Great question. I have the pleasure of serving in the HFA Board, Housing Finance Authority Board for the county. I was appointed by Senator Rene Garcia, so I'm at the forefront with affordable housing. I know it's a crisis, like you said, not in Coral Gables, not just in Coral Gables, not in Miami-Dade County, but nationwide. We're seeing it. I think it's important to have a public-private partnership here in the city. We need to promote affordable housing, and again, this is obviously we can affect change as a commissioner here in Coral Gables, but this is something we need to partner with county, state, at the state level, and make sure that affordable housing is addressed statewide. But more importantly, here in Coral Gables, I would like to partner, public and private partnership to affect this change.
Talking about some of the existing housing, I think the complaint that I've heard the most often throughout my life in Coral Gables is that the permitting process is a nightmare. What would you do about expediting that?
Great question. Kind of to echo my initial thoughts, which is starting January 1st, if I'm not mistaken, or January 3rd, we went from a paper process to a digital. I believe the system is called InterGov. During that time, we had the ability to switch from City Hall to the new development service building, like the mayor had mentioned previously. Since then, since going digital, I think we've seen, and I've heard from residents themselves, incredible improvement. I think we'll continue to see improvement. I'm glad to see the change is already on the way. Now, however, looking forward, I want to see that the permitting process is up to par with technology. Nowadays, we have a cell phone, we get things at our fingertips, we're able to access an app, order food. I think the permitting process should be at that stage. User-friendly, I want to see it, if elected, I want to make sure that not only is it digital and moving forward, but I want it to be up to par with technology and what we're used to in today's day and age. Thank you.
I think we need to change the mentality in that department from this is the way it's always been done to let's change the way we're doing it because it hasn't been working. And yes, the city has changed the system. We spent over $2 million on this brand new system, but staff wasn't properly trained on how to use the system. And we've had to outsource the processing of our permits in that department. We're losing good staff. We're losing good staff in that department and many others because of poor management. And I think that's something that we need to look at across the board. I would say that out of 10 homes that I have on doors that I've knocked on, 6 of them have had permitting problems over the last 2 years. Had a gentleman who is 84 years old. He said he started a process to build a pool at 82, and he still doesn't have the permits approved. His words to me were, "I will never see the pool." And that is a concern. Residents that are waiting 6 months to renovate their bathrooms, a year to renovate their kitchen, that is purely unacceptable. The city of Coral Gables can and must do better.
Do you believe the commission should maintain the power to amend the zoning code, or should it be submitted to referenda?
I think that's a decision that should be made by voters. And I think we have a major problem in Coral Gables where developers are funding campaigns and getting their candidates elected into office. Those candidates now are committed to those people. And that is a problem. Developers cannot continue to control what happens in Coral Gables. Coral Gables is a city made up of residents, 52,000 residents who make decisions. A lot of these developers don't even own homes in the city of Coral Gables. And yet they're coming in, they're buying the seats, and they're buying their votes. Their projects come before them, they're fast-tracked. I mean, we just saw a project that the city manager is trying to fast-track on the parking lot of Cafe Abraci, a partnership with the city where they're going to take over 2 city parking lots to build a building that he wants to double the height. This is coming directly from the city manager. I have yet to hear of a single resident who wants to increase the height on buildings in Coral Gables. We need to respect the zoning code.
Turning to, wait, did I not let you talk about that?
No,
sorry.
you did
Go
not.
ahead. My apologies.
So I think it goes back to resident involvement and resident engagement. Developers don't elect us. Who elect us are the residents of the city, our neighbors, the ones we've grown to love, the ones we're door knocking on a weekly basis, in my case, on a daily basis. We need to represent them. We need to hear from them. We need to hear their concerns. And to echo what I said previously, which is I have experience in listening to my residents, to the residents, I apologize. During my time in the Planning and Zoning Board, I was able to engage with them. I know the issues that concern them. All we need to do is listen. I think the current commission is doing a great job, but we need to have more resident involvement. So that's my opinion.
Because of development, growth in downtown Coral Gables, that's one of the reasons why we're seeing traffic, although the traffic problem extends to, many other parts of the city. The mayor mentioned mass transit. Alex, is expanding mass transit on the table for you?
I think, and this past weekend alone, I met with a representative of the Freebie. I live in Biltmore Way. The residents in my building, the condo I live in, constantly use the Freebie. I think the Freebie is essential to Coral Gables. We also have the trolley, which I know is expanded to the weekends. And I'm using the business district, and I live just outside of it, how effective these systems can be. Some of my neighbors don't even have a car. They freebie to downtown, freebie to Publix, and freebie to their daily activities. I want to see the freebie expanded to the neighborhood, the neighborhood surrounding the business district. I want to see it expand to the point where residents can use a freebie or the trolley and not really have to use a car. And I think that taps into an environmental resiliency aspect that I think will make sense for Coral Gables as a whole.
All right.
They say imitation is the best form of flattery, and I'm flattered by you copying what I said at the last forum. I'm glad you met with Freebie after our last forum. This is something that I proposed during our PTSA forum last week to expand Freebie into the residential neighborhoods. I have actually taken a tour on Freebie on their Teslas, which they're planning on expanding into their residential neighborhoods to ensure that residents can make it into downtown Coral Gables. One of the biggest concerns that I hear from residents is, I can't make it to Miracle Mile because I can't find parking. So what a better opportunity if you can take a Freebie from your home into downtown and ride your way back. That's a great opportunity. I think the mayor hit it on the head. Sundays on the trolley, I think that would be a great opportunity. But my concern is that we're spending a lot of the money on these projects in the business district and not for use of the residents.
Where do you guys stand on no new taxes? On no new taxes, is the mayor committed to that? Your first, Ariel. Where do you stand on that? Because we're talking about expanding programs. How do you expand programs without increasing tax?
Absolutely. I think the first thing we need to do is a full independent financial audit of the city of Coral Gables. I think our finances are something of major concern. I have written about it numerous times. The response from the city is liar, liar, pants on fire. And to me, that is a problem. If we are okay with our numbers and we believe our numbers to be true, we have no problem having a discussion, open discussion with residents. Numerous residents asked for a sunshine meeting to discuss the city's finances, and what happened? The response was, we've met privately with the manager and we're okay with what we've heard. I'm sorry. That is not a good response. I think that we first need to do a financial audit of the city, and then we need to see where the money's going. We just authorized $650,000 for raises to the top 50 people in the city. We have people on staff right now who are below the living wage. Our firefighters haven't received a raise. Our police officers are on hold, basically. And staff, the latest report that came out said the staff was underpaid by at least 5%. A maximum of 12%. That is concerning.
So we may have to raise taxes?
Absolutely not. I think we can definitely address it with the money that we currently have. $191 million is our city's budget, and it will increase again next year. With all these projects that have already been approved, we will continue to increase revenue. The estimates are between $5 and $6 million for next year. But the problem is that we have pet projects like the Mobility Hub that's going to cost us $63 million, and we need to find money for that. To me, that's a waste of money.
Alex, where do you stand on this?
I'm not in favor for raising taxes. What I'm more interested in is how we spend the money. I think when we look at police and fire, I think we're blessed to have, if not the best police in the state, maybe the country. I've met multiple times with Chief Hudak. I think he does a superb job, spoken to residents, and safety is not an issue. They feel safe in their homes. I've met multiple times with the firefighters. I think, again, we're blessed to have police and fire that we have. So long as they're taken care of in the sense of they're able to perform the way they do, and our residents are fine, I think that's the utmost importance. In raising taxes, I'm against it. I think we should grow organically. More importantly, build our business district. I think after COVID, you've seen a surge in the downtown of Coral Gables. It's become the place to be. I have friends in Broward. They come from even West Palm Beach that come in. The Gables is the place to be. So as long as we grow the downtown organically, I think we won't have to raise taxes.
Well, what you just said earlier there leads into a question from the audience about the responsiveness of our police department. This says the responsiveness is of great importance to residents. What is your take on the responsiveness of the police department and its leadership? Gee, I can't understand the rest of it.
Well, is it my turn? I'm sorry, I jumped out of line. I don't know if it's my turn.
Yes, it is your turn.
In regards to leadership, like I said earlier, I think we have incredible leadership. I've met multiple times with Chief Hudak, and I don't know one resident that's not in favor of him. He's an incredible person, and he's done an incredible job for the city and its residents. In regards to response times, I think other cities have to be jealous of our response times. I think it's some of the Class A response times. I have friends of mine that have unfortunately need to use police for non-emergency issues, and they're there within seconds. As a matter of fact, that one friend of mine even said that they were there before they got off the phone. So in regards to response times, I think we're probably best in the state, but more importantly, I think we need to continue to support the police and continue to make sure that those responses stay the same, if not get better.
Ariel?
We have a great response time, except when we don't. Santa Maria, we had a break-in 2 or 3 weeks ago. It took 9 minutes to have a police officer respond. And it has nothing to do with our men and women in the police department. It has everything to do with leadership. We're losing police officers at an astounding rate. We're expecting to lose another 15 officers in the next couple of months. And it's not because, it's a bad place to work. It's not because they don't like our neighborhoods, they don't like our residents. They love this community. But they're giving them better benefits elsewhere. And we're entrenched in a system where we prefer to pay $600,000, according to the chief of police, to train a new officer, put him on the streets, than review our benefit system and make sure that they're adequate. So I think that leadership, yes, there is leadership, but it definitely needs to be reviewed. The police chief just gave a response to residents in South Gables. You want more security? Hire off-duty police officers. I'm sorry. We pay taxes to have police on our streets. We don't need to pay for extra policing.
We don't need to pay for extra policing.
Not from a resident standpoint. It should come from our taxes.
Right. So are you willing to raise taxes for the police?
Again, I don't think we need to raise taxes. We have an incredible tax revenue. We have $11.5 million of increased tax revenue from the last year to this year. So the money's there. We just need to make sure that we're putting the money in the right place.
And do you want more spending then for the police department, though?
I think we need more spending for police. Crime is a huge issue, from the Flagler section all the way down to Gables Estates. We've had G-Wagon thefts in Gables Estates and Gables by the Sea, an astounding number. We have package thefts, vehicle thefts in the North Gables. Wallace Street was ransacked a few weeks back. There were over 10 cars that were broken into and 2 cars were stolen. This is a concern residents have.
Alex? Do you want more money to go to the police department?
I like I said earlier, I would, if elected, I would definitely support the police. If it means better response times, if it means more police officers on the road, I'm all for spending more money for the police. Yes, but I would not increase taxes. I think we have the means to do so, and I'm of the opinion that, again, I quite frankly disagree. I think we have violent crime is the lowest it's ever been, if I'm not mistaken. I think our police doing a superb job.
What about technology? We talked about it in the earlier meeting. The mayor brought it up as well. What kind of technology do you support to increase policing? Do you support the tags as tag reading technology, as the question asked that was submitted online?
I think using technology to benefit any aspect of the city is crucial. Technology, like I said earlier, has become to a point where it's user-friendly. All of us here, whether my parents, kids, they've grown to know how technology works, how to use it effectively. Yes, I'm in favor of tag reading. I think I've spoken to the chief about this, and I think it's double-edged sword. I think it prevents crime and also helps us catch criminals. So they know if they're going to come to the city of Coral Gables and commit a crime, they're going to know they're going to leave here caught and in handcuffs. So I'm for anything that promotes the safety of our residents. And I think tag reading is something that has truly proven to be beneficial. So yes, and then from a privacy standpoint, from a privacy standpoint, I'm on the understanding that the tag reading does vanish or delete itself after 2 years. So from a privacy standpoint, I think it's also beneficial.
Ariel?
I think I have to commend the commission on this one, because anytime the police chief shows up and he says, I need X, Y, or Z, the commission has always approved it. I think tag readers are a must. I did a ride-along with the police on the midnight shift down on US 1, and the officer was having to manually enter the plate numbers of cars just to see if they had been involved in a criminal act or just to make sure that it was somebody who should be in the city of Coral Gables. That takes a lot of time. It loses their focus. And I think if we have the technology, it's not uber expensive for us to get it on our police cars. I think we should get it. And like Alex said, the privacy issue is something that has been a concern of residents, but it is something that can easily be addressed because it's not information that can be searchable.
A question that was actually directed to Alex, but I'll start with you, Ariel, because it applies to both of you. As a commissioner, would you enforce the zoning code equally for developers and private citizens? I think I know the answer.
Yes, the answer is yes, and more importantly, since I've answered this question, I've done so in the past. I have a record of doing so. So not only will I have a record of doing so, and I will continue to do so in the future, God willing, as a commissioner.
Ariel?
Absolutely. I think no resident will be allowed to build a third story in their home ever. I don't think a developer should be allowed to build taller than what they're currently allowed. If you're allowed 77 feet, that's what you're allowed to build. When developers purchase their properties, they know what the zoning code is, but they rely on the commission granting them whatever variance they want, special favors, whatever you want to call them. We cannot continue on this path. That's how we've gotten ourselves into this situation. We do not have the infrastructure to continue to support these overdevelopment projects. And I'm glad my opponent sat on the Planning and Zoning Board, even though he missed almost half his meetings.
Alex, you are allowed to respond to that.
I will. First of all, I was in the Planning and Zoning Board for, I believe, 13 months, if I'm not mistaken. And I missed, if I'm not mistaken, three board meetings, two of them which I had COVID, which for the I'm speaking, so I haven't interrupted you, please. Two of them which I had COVID, and the third one I got married. So I was getting married during one of the Planning and Zoning Board meetings. Thank you.
Let's talk about annexation. Ariel, where do you stand on that?
I said it at the last forum, let the people vote. This is a decision that should not be made by bureaucrats. It should not be made by the city commission. It should be made by the voters of Little Gables, High Pines, Ponce Davis, and I also think the voters of the city of Coral Gables, because any decision made on annexation is going to affect the residents of Coral Gables equally because of the services that are being offered, and just because it is a decision that should not be made just by the people who are going to be annexed, it should also be made by residents of Coral Gables.
How about you, Alex?
I think when we talk about annexation, we have to look at it from two standpoints, public safety and democracy. I think from a public safety standpoint, it makes sense, spoken to police and fire. It closes off our borders. It helps us with response times, helps the residents of Little Gables with response times as well. Because as I think a previous candidate said, some of the emergency calls are getting sent to us or sent to county or whatever the case may be. So from a safety standpoint, it does make sense. And from a democracy standpoint, we need resident input. We need Little Gables and Coral Gables residents to give us input to see if that's something they encourage.
This is a question that came online about septic tanks. Miami-Dade County passed an ordinance effective January 1st, 2023, requiring advanced septic systems for new construction and replacement of failing tanks. Please state your sorry, my mouth is getting tired. Please state your position on this near-term solution and the longer-term solution of septic to sewer. Ariel. I lost track.
No worries, no worries.
Sorry, go ahead.
Septic to sewer is going to be a major issue affecting all of Miami-Dade County over the next 10 or 20 years. As far as this ordinance in particular that was passed by the county, it will have major implications on anybody who's making changes to their current septic tanks or replacing their septic tanks in the next few years. Unfortunately, I don't think the city of Coral Gables has done a good job of informing residents of what these changes are. I know the county has worked on it from their perspective, but I think the city needs to do a better job of informing residents of this. Septic to sewer is going to be one of the most expensive infrastructure projects in the history of Coral Gables. The estimates are that it'll cost residents between $50,000 and $150,000 to make the septic to sewer conversion per household. This is something that most residents don't have savings to sit around and say, okay, well, I'll deal with it when it comes. This is something that we need to start preparing for now. We need to seek, and I know the commission has sought state funding for this, but we need to start seeking federal funding in order to be able to address this issue when it becomes current.
Alex?
I'm in favor from septic to sewer. I think the biggest issue when we look at this transition is funding. If elected, I want to work with county, state, and federal officials to make sure that the residents aren't past the bill, that it's a group effort. And once the funding's in place, I think we have to look at low-lying areas, which are the most crucial when it comes to septic and sewer. So first it's funding, and then second it's what areas do we target first? And I think low-lying areas, especially with sea level rise being a constant issue, I think that's something we have to address, and address the low-lying areas first.
Since we're talking about the smelly stuff, let's talk about trash, which we talked about earlier. Alex, are you in favor of maintaining the current bulky yard trash pits on our city streets, or should the city seek another solution for this, like centralized drop-off points for residents?
I'm in favor for leaving the trash pits and the swales the way they are. I think what we should do is limit what goes in them. I think it should only be green matter. I've spoken to a lot of residents in regards to this. It is an issue. It's an issue that's at the forefront. It's definitely one of the more common issues when I knock on doors. I'm not in favor of getting rid of them, but I do want to limit green matter only, and any other matter only the day before pickup. So I think it's not a matter of the trash pits. I think it's enforcement. So making sure that the rules are enforced, and that it's just green matter and then plastic, whatever it may be, the night before pickup.
Ariel?
Absolutely, we should keep our trash pits. 85% of residents of Coral Gables want to keep their trash pits, and I respect that opinion. I use my trash pit. I know some members of the commission do not, and that's something that has been of concern over the last few years. And the mayor has made it clear he's not against removing the trash pits. He doesn't have one, but he's not against removing them. I don't think the commission is against removing the trash pits, but staff definitely has been in favor of removing the trash pits. And that is a concern to me, when staff is driving the commission in a particular direction on these issues. When it comes to trash pits, enforcement is the #1 issue, and I think filling those trash pits as well. The city has a responsibility of maintaining those trash pits filled. I was just in the area of, actually just a couple blocks away from here the other day, and there are trash pits that a car can easily fall into. The city has not filled those trash pits in years, and that's a concern for many residents. I've actually seen cars being towed out of trash pits. So we need to keep them, but we need to make sure that our rules are enforced.
I asked this question of the earlier candidates. What is the single most important life experience or job you've held that makes you a good candidate for the city commission? Ariel?
It's a good question. I think I've held many different positions over the years. I've served on many boards over the last 24 years in many different capacities, from nonprofits to city, county. I think being the editor of Gables Insider has really put me in a different level of learning exactly what takes place in the city. And I'll be honest, I ran 8 years ago. Today I can tell you I was not ready to be a commissioner 8 years ago, because I did not know how the city properly worked. And many members of the commission have told me once they've gotten elected that it's taken them a period of time to really understand how the inner workings of the city operate. So I think being the editor of Gables Insider, watching every single commission meeting for the last 4 years, I know exactly what's taking place, and I'm ready to hit the ground running on day one.
How about you, Alex? What life experience or job has prepared you for this?
And I'll echo, I think it was in my opening remarks. Having served the city in different boards for the last 6 years has really helped me know what the issues are. I've been blessed to engage with residents throughout those boards, throughout my time in those boards. I myself serve on the War Memorial Youth Center board, and for example, on that board, we learn the effectiveness of a park, how it brings the community together. In the Mayor Advisory Board, I've learned what sustainability, how we can use sustainability. For example, city buildings have reduced their fuel consumption. Well, city officials and city buildings have reduced their fuel consumption, electricity use, and water. So I've been able to learn different things and really engage with residents over the course of the last 6 years. So I think that, coupled with the fact that I'm an attorney, I think it has really given me a platform to know how to advocate and quite frankly listen, which I think is the most important thing. Listen and unite. So coupled with all those things, I think that's what qualifies me.
The city was founded in 1925, so we're coming up on its centennial. Do you have any ideas about what the city should do to celebrate that grand event?
I think we have to do something big.
How big?
Real big. It's a very special day, a very special year. More importantly, I think you see what goes on in the city. Tomorrow, I think, is the unveiling of the moon, of the famous moon. And pardon me, I don't know the exact wording of it. we're blessed to live in this city. I think the residents know that. I think the city staff, police, fire, our commissioners currently do a great job of really allowing us to live in, to me, the best city in Florida, if not the best city in the United States. So I think we're blessed to live here. Everything we do, we have a lot of public events. On Geraldo, we had numerous, the umbrellas, the moon. I think we're blessed to live here, and I think we have to do something big, very big, and really get community involvement for the 100th year.
Ariel?
We have basically 2 years. I think the commission took a first step by creating the Landmarks Advisory Board to start tackling some of our landmarks and improving them. But I think renovations of City Hall are crucial. I think renovations of our Alhambra Water Tower, bringing back some of that history. And I think we need to continue to preserve the history. We have many historic homes throughout our city. We need to maybe incentivize those residents to bring those homes back to their original look or style. I think one of the things that attracts a lot of people to Coral Gables, you look at pictures of the city, it's those historic homes and our historic features. And I think we need to embrace history as we reach our centennial.
What ideas do you have that aren't really being talked about at the City Commission? Do you have anything special that you think we should focus on other than these big issues that we've talked to death tonight?
Well, that's a good question. I think.
Yeah, sometimes I'll give you the time to think about it, because sometimes these are the hardest questions, right?
Well, I think
these
overarching
out there, but it's an important one, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
what kind of new blood? What are you bringing to the City Commission?
I think the overarching issue is just finding a way to make residents more of a central part of our city and making sure that residents have a bigger say. I think I would like to see, especially with development projects that are coming on board, the resident input a lot of times takes place at the final step of the process, and residents are basically there. Everything has already been decided by that point. I think we need to maybe start something towards the beginning and engage residents earlier in the process to make sure that the concerns that residents have are addressed before we make it to Board of Architects, Planning and Zoning Board, and the City Commission, so that by the time it gets there, residents understand they have been heard, the changes have been made, and we're not just carte blanche approving anything a developer wants.
How about you?
I think, and again, on the Mayor Advisory Board, we have an app coming out, and to go back to what you said about technology and how we can use it, I think technology is a big thing. I think technology is something we can utilize. I want to see technology at the forefront of a lot of things. We talked about having technology and permitting. How do we even use technology maybe for like a web-based to talk to city residents with city officials? See how we can utilize technology to bring residents and the city staff together and see how we can combine those two and work together in unity. So I want to see technology being utilized more.
To Ariel's point, is the City Commission, is the city transparent enough?
I think the City Commission is extremely transparent. Mayor echoed, and I think both Commissioner Anderson and Commissioner Menendez have open door office hours. I myself have visited them. I don't need to text them. I don't need to know someone to get a hold of them. I just walk into City Hall on a Friday. I know I can meet with the mayor. I can show up on any given day and meet with Commissioner Anderson and Commissioner Menendez. So I think they do a very good job of making this transparent. I myself have, like I said, showed up. I've even had residents say that they're transparent. They all give their cell phones out in events. I've been there where they're talking to residents, whether it's an unveiling of a dog park, they're all giving their cell phones out. So they're extremely transparent, and I want to continue to bring that to the City Commission.
Ariel, to that point?
I think transparency is a big concern the residents have. And I would not blame the commissioners for a lack of transparency. I blame staff. Commissioners are here on a part-time basis. They have a full-time job. They have a lot of commitments on their personal side. And a lot of times they have to trust the information that is brought to them by staff. I believe in a different way of doing things. Trust but verify. I think we need to check everything that staff is presenting to us because staff does have an agenda. And they have their own plans, their own ways of doing things. I think that if we can increase the transparency on all issues in front of the city, finances are a perfect example. The city manager said he didn't want to share the city's finances. The commission acquiesced and said, okay, we won't share the city's finances. We can't continue on this path. We really need to be an open book for residents because this is their money and this is their city.
I think we've reached the end of this, so I'd like you both to make your closing statements, this time in reverse order. So Ariel, why don't you go first?
Thank you very much. Again, I'd like to thank Mark and the Chamber for organizing this. Antonio, you've done a superb job. Good Gables government for always participating in everything in the city. And all of you for sticking around for 3 hours to listen to us talk about problems in the city of Coral Gables. But at the end of the day, we live in a beautiful city, a city that we're all proud to live in, and a city that none of us want to leave. There are problems, there are issues, but there are ways to solve them. And it's simple. We need to elect members of the commission who are not controlled by developers and who are not receiving developer funding. That is the first key to solving the problem. And I want to thank Alex for running. I think it's not an easy process. And doing it back-to-back elections, it's not easy. It takes a lot to be up here. I think I can present an opportunity for residents to have somebody in the commission who will be their voice, who has been there with them in the trenches fighting a lot of these issues for many years. So I look forward to the opportunity of serving you. If you have any questions, my cell phone number is 305-684-3874, 305-684-3874, or you can send me an email at ariel@voteariel.com. If you have any questions about any of my stances or any issues affecting the city, call me, reach out. Election day is April 11th. I humbly ask you for your support.
I want to thank you, Antonio. I want to thank Mark, the chamber, every single person here tonight. To echo what he said, I think it's late, and the fact that you're here allows us to show our platform. And I want to thank the University of Miami. As I mentioned during my opening remarks, I'm running because I want to be the voice of our residents and to work on the issues that matter to them. From ensuring the character and charm of our communities maintained to keeping our neighborhoods safe, making Coral Gables more environmentally resilient. I'll always side with the neighbors in opposition of large-scale development. I always want to highlight the fact that despite all you've heard and all you will hear between now and Election Day, I'm the only candidate running on the commission, running for City Commission, who has actually voted against large-scale development. For those of you that know me, you know I take great pride in operating in a professional manner, which has earned me the respect of the endorsement of many in the community, including Mayor Vince Lago, Vice Mayor Mike Mena, who couldn't be here today, Commissioner Rhonda Anderson, Commissioner Kirk Menendez, and as well as over half a dozen previously elected officials. I look forward to seeing you in the campaign trail. And again, I'm Alex Musello. Please get out and vote. Thank you.
Please give them a round of applause. You can stay up here or move down, but thank you all for joining us. Coral Gables TV has filmed the program tonight and we'll be replaying it over the next several weeks. You can consult www.coralgables.com for information on its rebroadcast. It'll also be available on demand on our Chamber's YouTube channel, which is @Gables Communications, and the city's channel as well, beginning tomorrow. Thank you again to all the sponsors, the University of Miami, Sora Global Advisors, Raga & Casa Strategic Communications, Gables Good Government Committee, and the Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce Business and Government Affairs Committee. And of course, thank you to all the candidates for their participation in the forum. Election day is Tuesday, April 11th. Early voting begins April 1st. It's April 1st, 2nd, and 8th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Voter registration deadline is next Monday, the 13th, and people need to get in their requests for ballot by mail by April 1st. Early voting and the drop-off ballots will take place at the War Memorial Youth Center. Before we go, I just want to hand it over to Patrick. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Just a quick round of applause for Antonio Mora for doing this for us this evening. Thank you very much.